Are you searching the internet right now, asking these 5 questions? One, why am I not catching bass from a kayak even though I can catch them from the shore or the boat? Two, how do I find bass from a kayak and what structure or features should I target? Three, what are the best tips for catching more bass from a kayak? Four, how close should I fish to cover without spooking the bass from a kayak? And finally, number five, how do I get started with kayak bass fishing tournaments or the competitive scene? Let's go ahead and dive into these common 5 questions that are being asked on the internet right now. If you're kayak bass fishing and asking yourself why it feels harder than it should be, you're not alone. These are the top 5 questions kayak anglers are asking right now. And today, we're answering them so you can catch more bass in 2026 from your kayak. Question 1. Why am I not catching bass from my kayak? This is the number one question out there right now. And the truth is, kayak fishing exposes your weaknesses very fast. You see, from a kayak, you're closer to the water, which means more noise from when your paddle hits or when your feet are on the bottom of the kayak. It also allows for bad positioning, and that shows up instantly due to wind and other factors. Overworking your baits. How do you fix that? Well, first of all, you got to slow down your presentation. You got to make some longer casts first. Let the kayak drift naturally instead of forcing it. You see, a kayak doesn't hide mistakes, but once you dial it in, it'll outfish boats. Question number 2. How do I find bass from a kayak? It takes a lot of research using Omnia fishing app, maybe Onyx or Garmin, but you got to understand finding fish is harder than catching fish. And kayaks force you to be intentional and to study. So focus on edges and grass lines and drop-offs and current breaks and points and bends and understand the seasonal patterns, shallow early maybe, deep in the midday. And if you have electronics, don't stare at the screen all day long. Use it to confirm what you already know, think, and researched. You see, fish where bass want to travel, not where it's easy to paddle. Question number 3. What are the best lures for kayak bass fishing? You don't need 20 rods in a kayak. You need, confidence baits. And I usually start off with 10 of my favorite ducket rods, but I usually narrow it down to 5 baits and lures. And some of the top kayak-friendly lures that I have seen are anything Texas rigged or your jigs because you're quiet and you're precise. Ned rigs because, they work. Spinner baits, bladed jigs, chatter baits, things of that nature. Top water, because who doesn't like top water baits? But here's a pro tip for you. Choose baits that fish well sitting still. Let the kayak do the movement, not your hands. Question number 4 out there on the internet, how close should I get to cover? I've caught a lot of fish really, really close, flipping or punching, but kayaks can get too close. And that's where people mess up, I believe. Some rules to follow, maybe start casting from farther than you think. Work your way in. Keep the kayak off of that structure that you're trying to focus on. You can use a micro power pole, you can use a light anchor, and I always try to make sure the wind and the current are to my advantage. You see, bass don't necessarily hear engines, but I also believe they hear electronics. So if you are flipping or you are punching, turn off your electronics and just listen to what's going on in the water around you. The last and final question I've seen on the internet is how do I get into bass tournaments, kayak bass tournaments specifically? Tournament fishing from a kayak, it's exploding. And it's one of the best ways to level up and to gain knowledge and to meet new people, like-minded people on that water, getting water therapy. So some steps to get started, I recommend joining a local kayak trailer club. You can learn a lot. You can learn how to catch, photo, release, CPR method, basically. You can practice measuring fast and accurately. You can fish your strengths, not social media trends that you see out there. You see, you don't need to win. You just need to learn faster than everybody else. That's the one thing that I have noticed about fishing in tournaments is that kayak bass fishing in these tournaments, you learn from everybody. I have so many mentors out there. So get into that local club, Then work your way into the bigger events. You can, from KBF to Bassmasters to the Team Kayak Series, the TKS. There's so many out there that are willing to help you level up your game. Kayak bass fishing rewards patience, it rewards efficiency and confidence. So master these 5 things I've addressed, the questions you've been asking most on the internet, and your kayak becomes a weapon of bass destruction. I know it's cheesy, but I like to say that. But if this helped you, drop a comment with the question you're struggling with, or maybe to add on what helps other anglers, and I'll break it down in the next video. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you for some water therapy.